Hi, it's Richard from eBroker again. Today we're going to have a look at the process involved in creating a new relative from an existing person. So perhaps you have a client in the database and he or she takes a spouse, or in this case I'm going to demonstrate adding a new child. Horror of horrors, the thought of Barbara and I having a new little person in the house is somewhat disconcerting, but let's play along for the purpose of this exercise. So the logical place to start in creating a new person is from the addresses. If we had a new baby, the baby at this stage will be living with us and probably dependent till he or she was 30. So let's start from my addresses. We'll go to the bottom of the screen and open me up for editing. We'll go to addresses, excuse me, and then we'll go across to list, and we're going to select by clicking on the left hand end and dragging to select the 3 home addresses, so physical, postal and voice. Simply right click in the blue, move down to new relative, choose personal. The system then offers you a range of relationship types, so let's go father to son. And the system then launches the new member wizard. Obviously this is a person, so accept the default there, click next, and now we can just motor through the fields here. Let's call this little guy Elvis. So we can just type this in lowercase and the system will put this into sentence case as we go. Let's call him Bob. And if he was actually known as, became known as Billy Bob, we can overtype Elvis in here and say Billy Bob. We need the legal name up in here. So if he's known as Bob as opposed to Robert, that's what goes up in here. If his middle name was Robert, that's what we want. But the crucial thing is that we've got a first name, surname and date of birth, which excuse me, are the legal handles he's got, because that's what in future the carrier download will link on: first name, surname, date of birth. So it's very important those are correct. In this case we've made or edited his voice salutation to be Billy Bob. So that would be, if we're doing a campaign and it's personalized, then it would say, the letter would say Dear Billy Bob. So this is the letter greeting. Mr. E. Pikett is used as the first line of the address on the envelope, and here if we're writing to Elvis some time down the track and he's got a partner and the partner is called Sarah, it would be in here, say Billy Bob ampersand Sarah. So that then becomes the letter greeting if we're writing to them as a family. Account name and account code you won't use. They were linkages to a foreign general system that we built. Date of birth, let's say he was 01/03/2020. He's a client at this point. His member status, so at this stage he's a prospect, so we can simply use the down arrow to scroll through those values. I know that prospect is at the bottom of the list, so it's simply a matter of just leaning on the down arrow key and it scoops to the bottom of the list. Master member, he's not on his own yet, he's dependent, so he wouldn't be ticked as master member. Thankfully he's not a smoker. He is single, so I pressed S, which takes us to separated. Down arrow twice takes us to single. He's not from the website. Let's say he's referred by me, so it's surname first. So Pikett, scroll through the list to get me. He doesn't have an employer yet, nor an industry. He's not self-employed. He's not an employer of other people, and he is in fact an infant. And then occupation is 5, and that's really all we need at this point. So here we go next. You can see the system is dragged across the address details and the phone numbers. Now if we're adding a spouse with this process, perhaps he or she had a different phone number, a different email address and cell phone, you could edit those on the fly in here. Click next. It takes us to the marketing screen, and it's already pre-filled with the consultant name. We're not going to set up any marketing flags for this little guy yet, and obviously we're not going to set up any reviews. So at this stage we will click finish. We've finished creating that record. Pretty simple. Do you want to change this new member's record? So if we wanted to do further editing, we'd say yes. In most cases, if you're adding a child like this, you'd say no. And when we exit from here, it returns us back to the record we started from. So we're back in my record with the addresses still highlighted or selected in blue, highlighted in blue here. And if you're adding, say, another child or another relation, you could simply right-click and go through that process again to add, successive children. So it's actually quite quick to add people if you're structuring them from an existing member's address. So he's not showing up here yet because we haven't asked the system to refresh. So I'd right-click down in the bottom of here, go refresh, and there is Billy Bob. The last thing we need to do is to relate Billy Bob to Barbara. So Billy Bob is related to me because we've built him from my record. But if we go to Barbara, then Billy Bob doesn't appear in the list there. So we need to manually create that relationship link. So member relationships. The window is open behind us somewhere here. So here it is here, and we'll start typing PYK, drop the list down, find Elvis, tab through to relationship. Now remembering we're in Barbara, so we're going from mother to son. So mother to son, and press enter to add that relationship. And you can simply exit from here, you don't need to save. And if we now right click and refresh, then Billy Bob, aka Elvis, is there. So that's how easy it is to build a new record from the existing address details. So thanks for watching. Hope you picked up some pointers there, and please subscribe to the channel. We will be doing more of these little videos. They're proving quite popular as we go along. Thanks again.